I would like to welcome you to our webinar. Today, I will introduce cash flow forecasting that allows to forecast future bank balances based on provisional future transactions. You can generate provisional transactions here based on Sage 300 transactional data. If you use Sage 300, if you use SYSTRONICS Cashworks, then the module can be integrated with it. It has a very useful cash flow forecasting report, which has a graph at the end of it. As a rule, when you need to make a forecast to your cash flow, you do it using Excel. The benefit of using SYSTRONICS cash flow forecasting is that it reads the data already available in Sage 300. And the application uses this data from different modules of Sage 300, such as AR, AP, as well as OE and PO. Now, let me open Sage 300 and show how the application works. The central point of the application is the management console screen. Let me open that screen. First, you need to specify to which bank you want to make a forecast. And after selecting the bank that you are interested in, you can select the date range. Let's imagine that we are in the beginning of June and we want to make a forecast at the end of the July. And in these dates, we will specify these beginning and ending dates and click the Go button. When I click the Go button, the current balance of the selected bank in the beginning of June is filled automatically from Sage Bank Services. And now I need to add the forecasting figures here in the grid in order to have a ending balance, closing balance at the end of July. How to do that? We have already entered different transactions in different Sage 300 modules, and possibly we have open invoices in AR and AP. If we have open invoices, then we can predict that these invoices will be paid at the due date of each invoice. So, how to add that information in the system? There is a special screen for that. I will click the button here, Autogenerator Provisional Transactions. And this screen is open for me, allowing to pull different transactions from these different modules of Sage 300. First, let's select the AR invoice option. And let's imagine that the receipts we will receive correctly during the due dates of these invoices. It is possible also to have some additional days, plus some days if we want to. And I will select the date range, which means that I will select the due dates which are inside the June and July periods. Beginning of June and ending of July 2010. When I click the Go button here, the grid will be populated with invoices, the due date of which will be in the selected date range. We can select all of them as a source of incoming amount of money, but we can exclude some of them. First of all, it is possible to print a report to check the information available on this grid. And if we think that all of them are possible source of income, then we will include all of them. Otherwise, if we know that some invoices will not be paid during this date range, or they will be paid using other bank, then we can exclude them. For example, if I want to exclude this invoice, I will change the selected option from yes to no. And then I will click the generate button. When I click the generate button, the information will be processed and the message is informed that it was completed and 16 transactions are generated. So after closing this pop-up screen, on my main management console screen, I will have the list of information already on this screen. So for each invoice, I have a one transaction here generated, which we name as provisional transaction. Why provisional? Because it is a not real transaction actually. We expect that these receipts will be created, we will receive this amount of money during the due dates of the invoices. And next to each provisional transaction, we will see that the running balance of the bank will be increased. And at the end of the list, we will have a closing balance, which is more than our current balance. What are the other types of inflow of cash that we anticipate? It can be open order entries available in OE module. If we have an open order entry, we expect that the invoices will be created based on these orders, which will be paid. And based on that information, we should add another provision transactions in my system. So again, I will open the generate provision transactions screen, and here I will select the OE order option. As a date, I will select the expected ship date. Let's imagine that we will be paid during this date, and the same date range. Again, I click the Go button, and in that case, in this particular case, in my sample data, I have only one open invoice. So I will generate a provisional transaction based on it. And it is added here. Now, let's think about the payments. What type of payments we should have during this period? We should pay open invoices available in AP model. So using the same screen, I will add the transactions for these payments. So I will select AP invoice option. I will leave the invoice due date here and use the date range. Go button. In this particular case, I have a quite big list of payments here. So when I click the generate button, you will see that my bank balance will be reduced significantly because the list is quite big. And these payments will be shown the amounts in red color in order to differentiate with receipts. And because of these payments, my bank balance becomes quite low. Another source of cash outflow is the PO open orders. So again, I will do the same procedure. Select the PO order. Here I will select arrival date and the same date range. And click generate. As you can see now, my bank balance becomes negative. And if I anticipate that due to these transactions, I can have a negative bank balance, I should make some decision to make some changes in order to avoid it. Actually, in addition to these transactions that I have created here, it is possible to have other ones which are not entered in these four modules, AR, AP, OE, and PO. For example, if we have some account budgets, based on that budgets also it can be created provisional transactions. And on my screen, create provisional transaction, that option is also available, GL account budget. And by selecting the account and populating the budget, it is possible to add this information. It is possible that nothing is entered in Sage 300 yet, but still we have information that we should receive or pay some amount of money during this period. So if it is, we know that information, we can do that provisional transactions manually. So I will use this special screen for entering manual provisional transactions. And from here, I will enter this receipt or payment. So for example, if I know that I'm expecting some amount of money from this customer, then I will save it. And that transaction, that provision transaction will be added here. It's not that deliberately I didn't change this provision transaction date on that screen. And now this transaction, provision transaction date becomes the current date. It is an obsolete one. So it should be some future date. So even if it is wrong date is shown here, it is possible to change it. Please note that obsolete transactions are shown in some color here, purple color, and we have different colors for different statuses of provision transactions in order to differentiate them. So, as I said, it is possible to change the date in the grid, and if it will not be an obsolete date here, then the color will be changed on that transaction as well. It is possible that also to edit the amounts of the transactions shown here. And if we know that the amount is wrong and we should edit it, it is possible to do it directly from this grid. So from here I can change it if required. If some transaction will not happen at all during this period, for example, if I negotiate with my vendor and instead of July, I promise to pay in August, then I can edit the date here to change from July to August. And corresponding provisional transaction will be removed from my grid because it is outside of defined date range. And also, if some transaction will not happen at all, we can delete them immediately from the grid. To make the delete, there is a special delete provisional transactions option here for deleting. One by one, this button allows to delete them. Or it is possible to delete them by a range. To delete a range of transactions, I can use this delete provisional transactions option. I can select a range of provisional transactions and delete them by one go. It is possible also to delete the whole list, to empty my grid if required. What other type of sources of provisional transactions, cash inflow and outflow, can happen? For example, it is possible that we should pay weekly basis for rent for some expenses. In order to do that, there is a special screen for recurring transactions. And from that screen, I can specify the code of the recurring transaction, specify whether it is a receipt or payment, to link a schedule here. It can be weekly, monthly. Let's say it is a weekly. And the customer or vendor, depending on whether it is a receipt or payment, and the amount. Click Create Provisional Transactions. And you can create provisional transactions using these three different options. In this particular case, let's create just one for the next schedule. And it will be created. And after creating, it will be added to my main screen, management console screen. So if everything has been done already, then I can print a report to see once more the result of my work. So I will open the Cashflow Forecasting report selection screen. It has a detail and summary option. And print it. If I print using the summary option, then I will have a basic information on the report. The opening balance, inflow amount, outflow amount, and the closing balance. If I'm interested in the detailed information, that I will select the detail option, which will print each provisional transaction in it. And also it can be, the graph can be included. Let's print with the graph option using the weekly option. And print the detailed format option. Here, the bank account balance is shown and all provisional transactions, and at the end, the closing balance. Also, at the end of the report in a separate page, the graph will be printed where we can see the changes of my bank anticipated, how it will be changed during these 2 months. Okay. Now let's say that we have entered provisional transactions. What is next? If the time is going on and some provisional transactions become obsolete, and we don't need to have it anymore in the system, what should I do? Of course, I can delete all obsolete provisional transactions. There is a special screen to immediately check these obsolete provisional transactions, which is named Provisional Transactions Alert. It is even possible to have it in the startup folder in order when I will open my Sage 300, immediately I will see what are my obsolete transactions. Now I have just one such transaction that I just created. But if I will change my Sage 300 login date, let's say we are in the August and all my provisional transactions become obsolete. Then in that case, if I open my provisional transaction alert screen, the whole list will be shown here as obsolete. And what should be my action? Of course, I can delete them. For example, I will click the delete button and delete one by one. But it is possible that in order to after removing these provisional transactions, I should have the real one, and the real one should be created in submodules. So manually, I can delete from here these provisional transactions and create actual one in different submodules. But there is another option to create these real transactions automatically using the Cashflow Forecasting module. How to do that? In order to do that, I will open the Management Console screen. It is possible even to open it from here. And to create a real one, to convert provisional transaction from provisional to real one. To do that, first of all, let me check this provisional transaction. It is a vendor payment with an allocation in it. So if it is possible to create a real vendor payment with allocation allocated to this invoice. How to do that? There is a special button here, Generate Actual Transaction button. And from these options, I will select the Generate Actual Payment option. Here it is asking to select the batch. I will create a new one, especially for this kind of generated batch. I will click Generate. After the warning related to the date and currency, the customized AP payment entry screen is opened for me. The AP payment entry, almost the same one, is open for me, but it is open from the Cashflow Forecasting module. And on this screen, I have already the data filled automatically. So it has a batch information here, entry information, description, reference, the vendor number, and even allocation is available already here. And actually nothing should be done manually. I just need to add, to save the information, and even possible to post it from here, and that's all. And when I did this conversion of provisional transaction to the actual transaction, it is removed already from my Management Console screen. It is not available here anymore. And I can do it for all overdue provisional transactions.